All right. I think that's all we've got for the airing of grievances. So we got
Yeah,
in a little, we got in a little edification during the airing of grievances. That's a good
it,
thing.
it happens. It happens.
Yeah.
That's why you gotta listen to all of the podcasts.
There you go. Absolutely. All right. We're going to go ahead and keep it moving into the main topic of the day, which you guys have been asking for. All right. We're getting back to the red flag series. So a couple weeks ago, we did 5 red flags that women overlook in men, and we told you, of course, we're gonna attack both sides, not attack both sides, but talk about both sides. And so we took a week off, but now we are picking it right back up where we left it off. We're going to be talking about 5 red flags that men overlook in women. So this is primarily for those of you who are out there still single, ready to mingle, still, courting, dating phases, things like that. When you're dating a person, over the course of you courting that person, dating that person, these are some of the things that you can keep an eye out for, that if you see some of these things, you want to have your antennas up. You want to definitely get into your prayer closet, talk to God about it, and hear, what your spirit's telling you about that individual, because these are red flags that could be signs that you need to hit the door running. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. 5 red flags that men overlook in women. The first one that we have is a woman who's broken.
Yeah.
All right. If you're dating someone, a woman, and she is broken, that is a red flag. All right. Now, how do you know that she might be broken? There's a number of ways that you can tell. All right. One of which, if she's always talking about an ex. All right. We talked about exes last week and how to get over them. If you haven't watched it, go check that video out. But if she's talking about her ex all the time, if she's talking about the emotional baggage that she has from that relationship, if she's always talking about him and what he did and how he did things and how it affected her, like if that is a constant refrain in y'all's conversations, in y'all's everyday relationship, then that's a sign that she's broken. Okay, that she still has wounds, she still has scars from that previous relationship that she's carrying in to her relationship with you. And that's something that is a red flag, because you need somebody who is healed and who is whole. You don't want to be dealing with her baggage from a previous relationship. You don't want to be paying for another man's mistakes that wasn't a good guy. Okay? He didn't approach it the same way that you approach things. So you shouldn't have to pay for that. So if that's something that she's constantly bringing up, that's an issue. That's how you know that she may still be broken. If she has daddy issues, and I'll say if she has daddy issues that impact her current behavior, that's going to be a red flag. Okay? Now, just because she has daddy issues may or may not be a red flag, that she may have seen what not to do in his relationship with her mom, or he might not have been around, but she has an airtight relationship with God, so it's not really affecting her. Then you're good. But if she has daddy issues and that impacts her current behavior, if her dad wasn't around, so now she's been in 5 relationships in the past 6 months. She's a little loose, she's a little, puts herself out there probably more than she should have. Then those are red flags. Okay. She talks about, how her dad wasn't in her life, and you see those behaviors, in conjunction with that, that's going to be a red flag, because those behaviors are a result of those unresolved daddy issues. If she lacks, if she lacks faith, if she lacks spiritual authority, right? Those are a sign that she may be, she could still be broken, because someone who is whole, someone who is sound in their relationship with God, has faith, has spiritual authority over situations and circumstances. So if y'all come across a situation that is less than favorable, and she just kind of crumbles, or she's speaking in doubt and in a lack of faith and a lack of spiritual authority, she doesn't know the authority that she has, based on the word of God. That's a sign that she may be a broken individual. She may, she doesn't have that sound foundation that you need a woman of God to have in a relationship with you. So there's a lot of different ways and a lot of different facets. These are just some examples that I brought up. I'm sure J.E. has some more of a woman who is still broken, who is still dealing with things. And if you see some of these red flags, definitely pray about that situation. You don't need someone who's broken. You need someone who's whole.
That's why, like BD says, very important that a person understands that they're broken first. See, anything that's broke can't work properly. It just can't. That's why it's important to make sure a person is whole. A whole woman is able to work the works of a wife, is able to work the works of a mother. See what I'm saying? Any piece that's missing is like a computer that loads without finished loading. That if you cut off your computer while the computer is at 70% and you close it, it has the opportunity of crushing the whole device. And that 30% that you're missing, pieces all over the place, is what's going to affect even the 70% that you're a whole of. That's why it's very important for you young men, and just men period, just to really examine her daddy issues. There's two types of wounds a woman has who's not healed by Christ. Number one is a father wound. Number two is her first wound. Her first wound is her first male boyfriend, her first hurt. Those two wounds are very hard for certain women to get through, and they try to get through it by getting to another man. That father wound is very important, BD. They have to heal from that because that's your foundation. That's why the enemy's after the men in the home. If he can take the men out of the home, then he breaks up the order of the home. If the whole order of the home is broken up, disorder is inevitable. And what happens is that young lady is growing up with patches and blockages in her mind as she develops in her formative years. And now as she develops in her formative years with certain perspectives and influences, that determines what form she grows into. And that's very important because whatever form she grows into, she will follow through that form's formula, those principles, those thought patterns. See, a broken woman has a broken mind. A broken woman has a broken soul. And when those areas are broken, I'm telling you, man, when you try to see, don't wait till you get married to see if she's well. You see what I'm saying? If you wait till you get married to see if she's well, you're going to go through unnecessary years of issues, my friend. And that's why I tell every young man, make sure you see healed traits, not hurtful traits. If you hear more hurt out of a mouth, trust me, that same mouth that you hear hurt from will be the same mouth that hurts you. It's simple as that. And so what I want to advise you is that a whole person works properly. I have some notes I want to go through real quickly. A whole person works properly. She has to go to God to be made well. Anytime a product is broken, there's two things that you have in your disposal with that product. You should have, unless you got it off the street corner. Okay. There should be two things you have. That's a manual, and in that manual, the manufacturer's number. Okay. Every one of us, we have a manual. The manual is the word of God. The manufacturer is God himself. If she hasn't checked her manual, has not called the manufacturer out, called out to him and asked for help, my friend, you're just going to have a product looking good to you, but ain't doing no good works for you. I'm telling you, you make sure that she has been made whole in God. If not, she's going to break anything precious in your life. Secondly, you have to understand the difference between being broken into piece and being broken into pieces. God breaks us. He prunes us, but he breaks us into a piece. He breaks us into the mold that he has for us to be. But when a woman is broken into pieces, a piece of her is in him. A piece of her is in 95. A piece of her is still in 2006. All these pieces are everywhere. And when she comes to you, you see these different gaps in her of missing pieces. God is the only one that can call the pieces from the east, from the west, from the north and the south, that's able to call all the pieces to bring clarity to her on why she was broken, to bring resolve and closure, to close up those holes in her life, to let her know that she is called for such a time as this, that she's called towards a purpose, and that she's able to walk well. Because I'm telling you, if you injure yourself, like me and BD play basketball. If I go out there and sprain my ankle, BD, it'd be dumber for me to try to get back in the game because that ankle is bruised. If I go back in the game with a bruised ankle, I would end up breaking that ankle. You see what I'm saying? And what oftentimes happens is when a person has been broken or bruised in a relationship, they try to play immediately next day's game with a new teammate.
Right.
And then they suffer even deeper injury. And now not only is she bruised from the first guy, now she's been immensely broken by the second guy, and she barely knows herself in the third guy, trying to find herself in that guy. And by the time she gets to you, she got 4 dudes in her.
Right.
So what I'm trying to say is, man, this is for guys too, but we talking about ladies. You got to make sure that she shows you the moves, that she's able to move on that ankle, that she's able to really play and be involved. Last but not least, man, wounds not tended to leads to infections. Wounds not tended to, not properly cared for, are susceptible for infections. That's why a lot of women out here, minds are infected with the feministic movement. Minds are infected with all types of unbiblical worldviews. They're infected because they did not allow God to treat those wounds. I'm telling you, brothers, make sure that she is well, because I'd rather for you to have a woman who's holistically well I'd rather you have a woman who's attractive to you. Don't get me wrong, is attractive, but holistically attractive than the most beautiful woman you ever seen in your life, but ugly on the inside.
That's right. All right. And the next point that we have, red flags. We're talking about red flags that men overlook in women. Next point that we have is a woman who's too into you, a woman who's moving a little bit too fast in the relationship. All right. First and foremost, ladies of the Good Guys podcast, that's one of the most unattractive things, to be honest, that you can do, from a male standpoint, is, we talk about it all the time. Like, we as men are wired to chase, right? So if you are giving into the chase too soon, it kind of, kills the vibe. It kind of, in our mindset, it's like, oh, well, that was easy, like you want someone who's kind of making it a little bit difficult for you, because on her end, she should be, analyzing you as well. She should be seeking God about you as well. She should be listening to the Spirit about you as well. So she shouldn't be just automatically just, falling super hard for you, ready to take the next steps and take the next steps and just in a rush to get married. Like, marriage is a major commitment. Marriage is a big thing. Marriage is something that you need time to.
Thank you all so much for watching the Good Guys podcast here on my YouTube channel. If you haven't already yet, make sure you subscribe to the Good Guys podcast here. If you want to enjoy the rest of the content of this podcast, click this video over here. Make sure you hit the bell. Make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, a thumbs up. If you're watching this on Facebook, head over to YouTube right now. Type in the Good Guys podcast. We'll love to see you over there. Subscribe, hit the bell, leave a comment, thumbs up. We'll see you over there soon.